All right, well, here's your panel. Let me introduce them in, well, you're in no order at all. As you look at the panel, I'm me, right? So next to me, on your left, is Mr. Errol Edwards. He's from B6. Next to him is Professor Kim Choon from the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, about which we'll hear more. In the middle of the seven is Jesus Sancho Acciona, and then Fadi Juez from Matito. That's it. Good man. Nice wave. And next to him is Philippe Valerio. And finally, on the extreme right, is Carlos Kozan from Almar Water. So what we're going to do there, we really haven't got much time, so I'm going to ask everybody to be pretty pithy. And we are dealing here with 5 private sector practitioners plus an academic. So you're going to go for the private sector people, and maybe the academic can say a few things at the end about what's been said. Now, I'm going to go unashamedly to Fadi Juez. Matito is, I mean, probably the oldest specialist water treatment company in the Arab world. Created more than 30 years ago, must be close to 40, 50 years ago. Fadi, of course, is much younger than that, but he's been involved in so many different things. So, Fadi, a quick word, just say something about Matito and understand what you are. Give us some examples in which the region and your company are working together to create a new model for water treatment.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Fadi Juez Matito. Well, I want to start by saying that me personally, I've been in this part of the world since 1990. So I've lived all the evolution of the water and wastewater technologies coming in and models. First, I want to start by saying that we pride ourselves, and I guess it's because of the need, to be in the forefront of reusing waste and reusing the water that we do, because obviously we have difficulties in getting new fresh water to our businesses. In our company, we've seen the evolution. I guess in the 90s, we always used to talk about wastewater, the ignored wealth, and slowly the countries started reusing the water primarily for irrigation. But in recent years, and primarily in the last 5-6 years, we've seen a forefront reuse of the water, and we're moving into reusing the water more into industrial makeup water, coming closer to drinking it, which we don't, but reusing it in very interesting applications that have reduced the pressure on the water supply, primarily from the desalination sector. I can give you 2 interesting examples that are happening in this part of the world, in this country, the United Arab Emirates. One of them in Dubai, in downtown Dubai. Some of you might not know at all that all the makeup water for the district cooling of downtown Dubai, including of Burj Khalifa, including of Dubai Mall, including of all the hotels, all the district cooling that are consisting of 4 of the largest in the world, all the makeup water comes from water reuse. There is a 20,000 cubic meter per day plant sitting in one of the biggest district cooling that takes treated effluent. You pass it technically through ultrafiltration, then RO, and you got water practically like this that goes and supplies the makeup water for all these district cooling. It's a very interesting project. It's one of the first in this part of the world that we did.
That's one of your projects, I assume.
Sorry?
That's one of your projects.
That's one of our projects. The second one that we're just completing as well, very interested. Actually, I had the pleasure of visiting it yesterday, which is in the Dubai parks, the Lego land that is just happening between the borders of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And that is a complete cycle. So what the government is doing now, and we did this job as well, we're taking sewage and treating the sewage to secondary, which is filtering it, and then taking that water into ultrafiltration, RO unit, as well bringing it to this level. And all the lagoons, if you get the chance to visit, it's a beautiful place. The first time I've gone there yesterday. If you get a chance to visit, you'll see a huge lagoon where this is all water reused. Right. Nothing coming from desalination. All water reused, crystal clear and beautiful. A third very interesting project that this part of the world is going for, and this is in the forefront of technologies, is now we're going into reusing industrial waste all the way to reuse as well. A project is not completed yet, but Qatar was in the forefront of that. You're taking the waste from a gas refining complex, all the way to reusing it as makeup water for the demon or for the high purity. And all the reject is being treated through a zero liquids discharge and also reused again. So what I want to try to say is that we're moving very quickly towards reusing every drop of water we do. The last thing I want to say, I'm conscious we're getting late, is that I think we're about now to move to the next step to make it more, technically it can be done, commercially it's affordable. I think now we have to move towards making it more holistic and started having governments working brightly to how to reuse it for the whole municipality.
Okay, very good.
Thank
And this is a profitable business.
That's what I'm saying. It's commercially very feasible because profitably we make money, the end user makes money, and the people that have built the project make money. It's a very profitable business, and the environment, of course, is fully satisfied.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much, Fadi Jouez. I'm now going to B6, a Belgian company, but it's been working in UAE, again, for decades. So, Errol Edwards, it's really about what the private sector is doing. Where are you? We've heard all the concepts, but then the private sector is doing things. What are you doing in the region? What's the future?
Yeah, I think if I recall, Eddie, from the opening yesterday, it's about words into action, right? I think where we've been taking action is we have about $700 million of assets under management of SPVs that we're part of. In Ajman particularly, I think most people are aware of the Ajman concession.
Yep.
We've managed to really achieve a significant step in the reuse side, and that's through the selling of polished water to industries, and that's really a very successful commercial enterprise.
So how long have you been doing that for?
That's been going for about 4 years, but the main concession's been running for nearly 10 years now.
Right, okay.
It's a very commercial, successful enterprise.
I know the Ajman
but it's the reuse side that's the really breakthrough.
Yep.
And I'd like to touch on a few statistics, Eddie. In the UAE, and I'll focus on UAE, but I want to refer to something that happens in other countries as well. In UAE, there is about 200 million cubic meters of TSC that has to be thrown away to sea. Yeah. It's not being reused. We have about 500 million cubic meters of groundwater that's been abstracted and used by industries. Yeah. So, okay, 500, 200. It's not too difficult to realize what we need to do is to be able to use this water that's being thrown away to the sea for industries. However, if you speak to many municipalities, the challenge they've got is that they need most of their, particularly Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and a few other places, they need most of their TE in the summer months for irrigation. But 10, 11 months of the year, it has to be thrown away to the sea because they're not the same demand. Yeah. The key issue is to implement, in my view, groundwater storage and recovery of polished TE or even TE. I think Salalah in Oman has been doing this for 13 years very successfully. As a seawater intrusion prevention. But if you focus on the idea of aquifer storage and recovery, you then could, for the municipality benefit, allocate a stream of flow that you could allocate to industries to then really drive some of the things you've just been talking about, Fadi, a greater industrial reuse of this valuable water. And I'll give you a figure. That 200 million cubic meters, it's worth $1 billion dirhams per annum. That's just in UAE.
Good. Okay. Jesus, Acciona. So, what are you doing? What do you see as the big opportunity for business in this sector?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know Acciona, just very briefly, we're the third largest contractor, general contractor in Spain. And as you can see, well, you don't see it now, but our logo is a leaf. Our president and owner is absolutely into sustainability, green energy, and conscious on the environment. So we came to the Middle East not so far away, long ago, like Metito B6, but like 10 years ago. But since then, we have achieved a great success, and we have established ourselves in 4 of the 6 GCC countries with permanent establishment and water projects. Very briefly, desalination plants, large ones, very large ones in Saudi Arabia, 500,000 cubic meters per day in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. At this moment, we are commissioning almost together 100 MIGD, which is like almost 450,000 cubic meters per day of seawater desalination in Qatar, also in the UAE, in Fujairah. But we are very much focused on water reuse and the whole life cycle of the project. As a private company, as an investor, also an EPC contractor, we can bring lots of value to the subject that we have today, the driving efficiency in the used water market. I totally agree with what Fadi said and Ariel. You know, you have to make a lot of room is there in the UAE and the MENA region for improvements. For example, Acciona is an expert in the new trend of smart cities, whereby you have a business intelligent platform that controls the whole network, and you have when the fault or the abnormal consumption is happening, but not only that, also where it's happening, to act quickly. That's a very important way to drive efficiency to the network. And I think also what Ed said, which is very, very important, you know, in the end, we have to go, some people say the motivation for this change could be the water scarcity, could be to put more stringent regulations and for the effluent disposal. But in the end, you have to transform an environmental burden, which is this waste, into an economic asset. And the way to do that is the key for me, for us to reach success. So we're here to as developers, to implement the latest technologies that can really thrive and can really change to what we are looking for in the future. That's in a nutshell our view.
Thank you, Jesus. And now Suez, as we've heard, Suez is a long-standing commitment, and including one of the projects that's been developed at Gantout is a Suez project, isn't it?
Which project, sorry?
In Gantout, one of the RO projects has been developed in Gantout. So Philippe Filario is Industry Business Development Director for the Middle East at Suez. So just a few words so people know what Suez is doing in the water sector and what do you think is the big opportunity in the region.
So we are in the region since a very long time. Suez is originally a French group. We have around 90,000 employees. We are the number 2 in water services worldwide. In the region, basically, we have around 1,500 employees. We develop, build, operate plants. We deliver also water plants and water equipment under the brand name of De Grémont. As such, in the region, to come back to the reuse topic and the used water market, outside our conventional activities for desalination that we do together with ENGIE, our mother company, we have a bunch of projects in reuse, mostly in industrial. As our colleagues of Metito, presently in Qatar, we have 2 projects under execution where we do reuse of gas condensate, water, in order to feed the LNG facilities in Qatar. Qatar has very recently changed its policy. Before it was a full ZLD policy to get the most of the water use and to avoid any reject. Now they have changed it to a near ZLD policy, meaning that not anymore they go to evaporation facilities and stuff like that. The big issue that we see in industrial reuse, or also even some municipal, are the cost. At the moment in Suez, we saw a lot of requests for this kind of facilities. Nevertheless, generally at the end of the day, there is an issue of economics. Economics because the cost of reusing the water is much more, for example, than a desalination facility. So we are doing a lot of R&D at the moment. I cannot disclose all, in order to try to decrease deeply the cost of reusing water. So we are testing new membranes. We are testing also in produced water application to reuse the produced water, for example, for fracking or for any kind of other use. We are testing high temperature membrane. We are developing a new kind of pilots, and we hope to arrive on the market very soon with this. For oil production, we saw some project where in the region you have using municipal wastewater to feed oil fields, and this is also quite complex because basically the nature of the water that you have to do for pressurizing a reservoir is a very high quality. So all the treatment altogether comes as a cost, as a big cost, and our biggest concern at the moment for us in the region is to decrease and divide deeply the cost per unit. And for us, till we don't reach, let's say, a target of dividing that by almost 2, the market will not boom. I mean, we will always face economics concern, and till you don't have a very intensive, let's say, pressure of the regulator or a strong environmental concerns that you cannot access to water, the reuse and the industrial reuse market will be only a case-per-case basis.
Okay, thank you very much, Philippe. A host of issues there, technology and getting the costs down, producing water and then working effectively with government. Our fifth company representative is Mr. Carlos Kozan from our Chief Executive Officer of Almaar Water. Just introduce yourself and your company and what do you think are the priorities for a business like yours in the UAE and the GCC?
Okay, Almaar is a new company that has been announced this week. That is a new company acting as a developer of water projects using a team that has been in the market during 20 years already developing projects, and now is acting under the Abdul Latif Jameel activities, okay? In parallel, trying to extend what the solar FRB business has been done now in water, okay? The team has been developing many projects worldwide. My point in the reuse is try to reinforce many of the things that has been done. Is, of course, I think from technological point of view, to treat the water for different uses is already done. I think from commercial point of view, even it's cheaper than many other alternatives of non-conventional water. But as a developer, the key critical point to develop more reuse is a framework of regulation. Today in the world, except in probably China, Qatar, or California, is still far away to be used and the expected figures. Just the 4% of the total water in the world is reused, okay? And for me, the best way is to help a clear regulation. Nowadays, I think the majority of the countries are using the Title 22 from California, which identify more than probably 40 uses of the reused water from direct uses or indirect uses. And as a developer, when you go to an utility, the problem that they face is how they can really base his regulation to produce water for irrigation, gardening, or specific crops. Probably in the industrial is different because at the end they are more flexible to adapt different alternatives and qualities, okay? No? Then as a developer, for me, the key point is probably it's cheaper, but if there is not a clear framework, that in Europe does not exist a clear framework, in states, each state is using his own internal regulations, I think will be difficult to extend and to increase the number of capacities of reuse.
Okay, so governance structure is a key. And final, we're now turning to Professor Kim Jun from KAUST, who's Water Desalination and Reuse Research Centre. You've got the opportunity to comment perhaps on the things that have been said by the private sector operators and maybe a recommendation to them about the things that they should be spending a bit more time on to help the region.
Okay, since I'm the only academic in the team, let me say something about King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. It is a graduate university set up in 2009 or 8, and it has been running fully since 2010. So we are about 6 to 7 years into the full operation. Currently, we have about 1,000 graduate students in the 4 divisions, and among the 4 divisions, we have 10 research centers. And I belong to the Water Desalination and Reuse Center, which is under the BESE division, Biological Environmental Science Division. And we have 10 colleagues working on different aspects of water.
10 projects.
10 colleagues.
Oh, 10 colleagues.
10 faculties. And of course, we work on very standard water projects from biofouling, colloidal technology, but we have some very advanced cutting-edge technology, for example, microbial electrochemical reactors, also technology on MBR, also technology on high flux membranes, where we can push the flux from the current value of ROs to about 2 to 2.5 times the flux level. And also in thermal desalination, which I come from, we also work on special processes called the adsorption process, where we can treat wastewater at low temperature so that mitigates the bioactivity, as well as can handle very high TDS, up to 200,000 ppm. So these are the research work that we work in the university to support the water desalination industry. And as staff members, we are encouraged also to bring our technology to industry. For example, in adsorption desalination cycle, we hybrid with the well-proven multi-effect desalination. So it's called MEDAD, M-E-D-A-D. And this currently has been pushed in Saudi Arabia together with partners like KAXT in Riyadh. We have built our first commercial pilot in the solar village at KAXT to treat RO rejects up to 100 meter cube per day. Still a small one, but it's the first one that we push to the industry.
Very good. So KAUST is there, it's doing groundbreaking work, it wants to work with the private sector. Talk to Professor Kim about seeing the way that you can engage his specialist team in the desalination sector based in Jeddah, doing high-level work. Now, we've run out of time, but I don't want to close it without giving you one more opportunity, but it's going to be a short one, short opportunity. If we come back in a year's time, what would be the thing you would like to see in the governance of the water industry in the region, in UAE or the GCC? What would you like to see change in the governance of the region that would help you as business people, in the main, do your business more effectively to deliver the kind of solutions that the region so desperately needs? Errol is looking enthusiastic about, like you want to say something.
You really
So
hit
what?
the nail on the head.
So what policy change would you want?
For me, it's about regulation that really drives industrial use of reused water.
Well,
It's
and
not there today.
what does that mean? You know, what is the thing?
It's number one, it's about the commitment to reducing the abstraction from depleting groundwater. Most of us will
So
know.
what you want is to stop, you want the governance to say you can't take any more groundwater, is that what you're saying?
and use this instead.
Can't use groundwater. Well, if you can't use groundwater, what else can you? You can wait for the rain.
And it's reused water.
You're going to have to use the other stuff. So that
That's
one, basically a ban on groundwater use, or maybe a selective
Why not?
ban.
Selective groundwater abstraction.
Yeah, in certain areas can't use
It's
it.
going to be finished in about 20 years anyway if you
Yeah.
don't do it. So.
Okay, well, that's your suggestion. Professor, I might as well hit you next because you're next in line. So would you like to see change in the next 12 months?
Well, I would like to see more interactions between industry and
Okay.
academia, particularly to bring the high-tech solution into the industry.
Okay, well,
Through companies.
that's right. So I think all the companies here should just have a chat
Yes.
with Professor Kim here and see if there's any way that you could practically apply. I mean, everybody seems to be doing their own pilot projects here. Everybody's got a pilot project knocking on. We'd like to see an innovative actual project. So maybe next year that's what we'll see. Jesus, what would you like to see changed in the governance of how the water industry operates? I mean, you've been here. I mean, you've been operating for almost 10 years in the region. So what would help the region deal with its water challenges?
Okay, we would like to see a more participation of the private sector through the PPP schemes that will bring not only equity into the region, but also technology and the latest know-how.
I mean, what's wrong with the present PPP schemes? I
Well,
mean,
the present PPP schemes in the UAE, how many PPPs do we have, for example, for used water market? Very
yes,
little.
quite right.
Very little.
so you want to see more PPP opportunities
I
in
would
the
like to
water,
see-
different parts of the water cycle.
Exactly. Yeah. But also, there are a few things that could be done. You're talking about 2030 vision. So, for example, you start investing. The UAE is, or the GCC is a region where it's still, building huge amounts of residential complexes and growing population. So let's do it right. Let's have a separate and industrial areas, separate collection for wastewater and industrial, so that will be more efficient when we want to separate it. Let's enhance the wastewater treatment plants that we have nowadays into, if it's needed, secondary, tertiary treatment, and therefore we can make better use, more efficient use of the effluent. But for that, you need support from the policies, and you need from feasibility studies that in some areas we can see in the GCC to a complete economic study of the cost versus the benefits. We need to have more skilled manpower in the Middle East. We need to have everything which is needed to really change the situation, which is good, but we have to improve to really see an efficiency. Okay, water leakage in the networks, grey water on the new complex. We have to have dual piping in all the new developments. Dual piping for grey water.
Jesus, I only asked for one thing, but you're coming up with lots. But you're calling for the government to do more to create the infrastructure.
Yeah,
more for the
yeah.
infrastructure, whatever it's regulatory infrastructure or a physical infrastructure that's going to help the companies apply their technology.
Correct.
In the right
This
places.
is the way you can enable this efficiency that we're talking about. For example, centralized wastewater treatment plants far away from any of the potential users, from decentralized, where you study very well which is the network, which is the areas, where you decentralize, and then therefore there's less energy to pump this effluent to where it's needed, and treat it to the right level. You can make better use, as Fadi was saying, not only in irrigation, but in municipal use, in water features, in industrial, in makeup water, and groundwater refilling, much more than what we're doing now.
Jesus, I'm conscious that the employees of this facility are due to go home, so I don't want to keep them much longer than they spent already today.
That's it.
So Fadi, you've only got one, Fadi. I know you want about a dozen. Just, if you ruled the water world, what would you do? Yeah. If you were, what's the governance that needs to change? The one thing, Fadi, come on.
Well, a number of bullets from my side if I rule the water world, maybe the world as well in this respect. Number one bullet is that you mentioned economics. It has to be commercially viable. Number two, I'd say that from a technology perspective, the technology is there. Yes, it needs some more refinement, that everybody works on it to make it more efficient, but technically we can take sewage and make it into drinking level water. Third, the biggest user of water apart from drinking it and apart from irrigation we've been using for a long time are the industries, as Errol mentioned. So we need to get this water, makeup water, to the industries to reuse it properly.
Right.
Commercially is viable, it doesn't cost much. The issue is to make it into a municipal level, which is the volume, apart from what we've been doing on a smaller scale private sector like Dubai Parks or downtown Dubai or DI, Dubai Investment Park, or Qatar Gas, WRR like he's doing. To get into the municipal level, you need to solve the issue of delivery to the industries and regulation. To do that, you need a holistic approach. A holistic approach is how do you get this treated effluent from a sewage treatment plant to that power plant there that uses hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of water. The governments have to work together, so you need in Dubai, the DIWA and the municipality to think in one hat. In Qatar, you need the people of Kahrama and the Ashghal to think in one hat. In Saudi Arabia, they're getting closer because the National Water Company is thinking as one hat. And then if you can get to that level, and if I rule the water world, I will do that, then you look holistically, and believe me, we can reuse every drop of water we have. We don't have to drink it. just process water, make up water is enough.
Very good.
So
Lovely.
That's what I said.
Fantastic. Philippe, got anything to add?
For us,
You can just say I agree with Fadi if you want to.
Nah.
You say I think Fadi.
For us, very briefly, what's pushing the reuse is I would say, the position of the regulator. And position of the regulator mostly is linked to either environmental or either access to fresh water. So to go in the direction of my neighbor, I say industry is the biggest use of reused water. But as such, an industrial will come to you only if he cannot access to fresh water, one way or another. Fresh water could be, of course, access to brackish water, or it could be also that for desalination water or whatever, Karama or whoever doesn't want to provide it, or goes in other condition that the fuel is not accessible if you have a power plant or whatever. That's what for us is pushing the reuse market ahead.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Carlos, the one recommendation you would make.
Yeah, my recommendation is that the consequences of do not push the reuse are big because we are using fresh water for any other purposes that we can use any other alternatives, which is the first. And second is, in many other cases, even the water is not treated and we are losing waste, a huge amount of water. Then,
and leakage.
For me, it's something that we cannot maintain any longer.
Okay, very good, Carlos. Well, my recommendation, well, I hope anyway, is that all your dreams will come true in the next 12 months. And everybody's dream is now fulfilled because it's the end of day one. And the conference today is now closed. We will be resuming tomorrow morning with breakfast as a breakfast session that begins at around 8:30. And that's on financing water projects. And that's going to be, I think, in Capital Suite 5, which, to remember if you went to over the other side, right? You know where it is. And that starts at 8:45. And the conference proper will resume in this room at 11 o'clock when we begin looking at opportunities in small-scale solar desalination. And that's from the UAE Water Aid Foundation. That's at 11 o'clock. So I'll see you tomorrow. But before you go, show your appreciation to our panel.